Hi, I'm Gabi, and welcome to Gabbing with Gabi. In this series, we sit down with fellow artists who've brought their knowledge and talent to the world via the internet. It's a chance for them to put down their paintbrushes, step away from their easels, and to talk about themselves. And it's also a wonderful opportunity for all of us to get to know them on a deeper level. Our guest today is Mick. Mick, please introduce yourself.
Well, hi there. My name is Mick, or as known on my socials, Oils with Mick. I'm a 43-year-old wet on wet painter that lives in Lincoln, Nebraska, soon to relocate to Phoenix, Arizona.
Awesome. Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. And you said that you do wet on wet. Do you do any other type of painting?
Yeah, I originally started my mom always said the second she put a crayon in my hand, I didn't stop. And so I've done all kinds of different mediums. I've worked in watercolors, acrylics. I've taught acrylic like sip and paint classes. Just a couple of years ago, I recently decided, you know what, I want to try oils and I want to try the wet on wet style. So
Mhm.
I've done a
And
bit.
what do you think is your favorite?
Oh, once I hit oils, I'm not looking back.
No kidding. Oh, that's so true. Do you mostly do landscapes? Do you do anything else?
So mostly yes. However, using the same wet on wet style, I've done other pieces. I've done a kind of interesting piece of Grover from Sesame Street, dressed as Super Grover, and it's done like in portrait style of the Renaissance period. As well, I've done palette knife work where I do a bird series. So like I've done a crane and I've done a phoenix, similar to yours, but done with palette knife. But mainly landscapes, yes.
Awesome. That's awesome. And so you sort of touched on when you got started. You said a couple years ago.
Yeah. So around the time of COVID, I was still working, but I was very much bored because everyone's social life had basically come to a nil or come to a stop. And so I took on um, kind of just finding myself. Prior to that, I dabbled with acrylics and watercolors and things like that, just out of the fun of things. But I got more serious around the COVID time, and then as well, I took on that second job teaching those classes. So from around 2019 to 2020 is when I really got serious into doing acrylics. And then around that time too, I had gotten the Bob Ross kit, and I meddled with it a few times before I felt confident enough to attempt to go onto social media and paint. So around 2019, 2020, I believe is when I kind of started.
Okay, awesome. Do you have any other hobbies outside of this?
Yes, one, I am big on walking and kind of taking nature walks. Lincoln, Nebraska has a lot of bike trails and has a lot of lakes and stuff. And I love to take pictures along the way and just enjoy life. Other than that, I'm very much into sci-fi, and so I've done some cosplay and kind of comic book nerd. So yeah, I've got a few other interests as well.
Awesome. That's awesome. And why did you decide to start making videos?
Well, with some encouragement of the job I was working at the Sip and Paint, they're like, you do so great in classes. Why don't you try recording yourself and throwing it up on YouTube or putting it on Instagram? TikTok was one of those where I waited a little bit to go to that direction because I honestly thought it was a fad. A little did I know it is what it is today. But they just thought I was very good at teaching, so I decided, all right, I'm going to do the YouTube and Instagram, Facebook, and then I moved over to TikTok.
Awesome. Awesome. When you first started, what was easy for you?
Absolutely nothing. I'm not going to lie. Because like my first painting, my first couple paintings, I didn't know the amount of liquid white or magic white to put on. I didn't know that you need to really treat and prime your canvases and take care of the surface and make sure they're nice and tight. So nothing really came easy, but everything, once I kind of just opened my mind to going, okay, trial and error, trial and error. Once I went to that, then things became easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Was there anything that was specifically difficult when you started?
Ocean scenes, that big crashing wave that everyone loves.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah, I
Yeah.
can't do it. I can't do it.
You still can't do it?
I can, but I don't have the confidence.
Oh yeah,
You
sure.
know what I mean? To me, there's always, I will pick those paintings apart more than any other my other paintings.
Mhm. Once you get into them, once you find your niche for them, though, I guarantee that'll change.
Yeah, I'm hoping so, because that's still kind of the one area where I'm like, I need to keep working on that.
Yeah, it's good to have goals, though. It's good to have things to strive for.
Right.
Who do you think inspires you as an other artist, dead or alive?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm a huge Da Vinci fan. I think that man was well beyond his time, and the things that he could do, it's mind blowing to me. So when you talk about that era, I do love the Renaissance artists, not just Da Vinci, but the four turtles, we'll call it, Michelangelo, Raphael, and Donatello. But more recently, of course, Bob Ross was a great influence. I remember growing up, and we only had like four channels on the TV, and one was PBS, and so I watched Bob. But then more recently, I went back to Bill Alexander, and there's something about that man that he eludes passion. Not only the passion for the painting that he's doing, but the passion to teach others.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. I did a recent video with Steve McPhail, and for any of you guys, go back and watch it. I talk a little bit about Bill Alexander. So, yeah.
Yes.
Anyways, go ahead, keep on going.
Oh no. So then also I have a local artist and friend. His name's David Gracie. He's a college professor. I won't drop his college, but he's a college art professor and a dear friend of mine. And what he can do just blows my mind. Blows my mind. I'm
Well,
always in awe of his artwork.
yeah, I'll have to look them up. Let's see. What is the single favorite thing to paint? Like if you had to pick trees or clouds or waterfalls?
Yes, I love front-facing waterfalls, and as you can see from all my paintings, I love adding this middle little rock here. Um, so waterfalls are by far my favorite things to paint.
Mhm. Awesome. Um, when you first started, what do you wish you had known?
You know, I wish I would have known the experience that I know now, but I could only achieve that by the trial and error in the beginning. So I think, if anything, the thing that I would wish I would have known was just don't expect your first time to paint like Bob or to paint like Bill or to paint like any of the other wet on wet masters. Just patience and practice, patience and practice.
Absolutely. Do you sell your work?
Yes. In fact, this weekend I have a showing at a local sci-fi con. And then in June, I am in gallery. So I have about 6 pieces selected for that. And prior to that, I've had gallery showings. I've done maker markets. I've done community art showings. Lincoln has a Lincoln Art Festival. I've participated in that. So I do sell as well, somewhat in my social medias. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, so I think out of all the people that I've talked to so far, you and I have something in common that I have not found in anybody else. And that is that you take one of your passions, your sci-fi stuff, and you bring your art to it and you marry them together. Taking your art and selling it, because I do that at my reenactments, and that's really cool. It's really awesome to meet somebody who found a way to bring
Merge
them.
them together. Yes,
I
yes.
love it.
Yeah. I tell every artist this. One, reach out to your local art galleries. Reach out to your community. If you live in a big enough city, you're going to have a community program for arts. Reach out to them. Do farmers markets. I don't know how many hot summers I have sat in a tent with no breeze in the Nebraska heat trying to peddle my paintings. But those are things I tell people, do it. Because one, I feel that as an artist, you should start in the community first, then branch out.
Yeah. And it's great when you do that because a lot of times you get to meet other artists as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
My town has a lot of art galleries, and every first Friday they open their galleries until 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and you can go and see other people's work, from college students to professional high end, to old. I have a gallery in town where I've been able to see a Da Vinci painting, been able to see a Monet. So yeah, reach out to your local art community. Start there.
Yeah, Absolutely. That's great advice. What do you think your future in art looks like?
Well, so I I have a 5-year goal to I work in mechanical electrical, and my goal is to put down my wrench and my multimeter and pick up my paintbrush full time. So my goal eventually is to become a full-time artist, figure out that plan, and just continue to create. And just, I don't know, the dream and the amount of paintings I've done and everything, I'm not going to walk away from that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to find a way to kind of merge or go one way, but definitely not stop creating.
Yeah. Um, Funny that you say that. My next question is how many pieces have you done?
Whew. So after 350 oil paintings, I quit counting. I know some people number, and I still kind of have a number, but also on TikTok, I do things like a 20-minute art battle. So I'll end up doing 3 rounds of 20-minute pieces. So it hit a point where I'm like, I can't continue to count. But then when we go to acrylics, we're talking close to 1,000. Watercolors, you're talking, oh, countless watercolors, drawings. I mean, in the moving process, I've had to go through my art and decide what I want to take with me and what I kind of want to leave behind, which has been beautiful to see progress. But yeah, I'm sitting next to 9 Walmart totes full of just oil paintings, stacked full.
Yeah.
So I would say around maybe 400 to 450 for oils.
Yeah. Did you sell your other work, like some of your acrylics and watercolors? Did you ever sell those?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. When I was talking about doing farmers markets, I was selling acrylics, I was selling watercolors, I was selling doodles. Just I do my best to sell as I can. For me, every painting is available for the right price.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because you say that. My next question is, do you have a favorite piece you're not willing to let go of?
Yes,
What
yes,
is
I do. Um, so I happen to have it handy.
show and tell?
Yeah. This one,
Yeah.
the wet on wet Super Grover, kind of done in that Renaissance style. Believe it or not, the background was actually an oil painting that I very much disliked. I was trying to go for surrealism, and so I wiped it all, just whatever, gone, and I let it set, and then I built Grover off of that.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
he's my favorite. He ain't going nowhere.
Very cool. Very cool. Um, let's get into your bonus questions.
Hmm.
Um, Before you started doing art to sell it, okay? So let's go back before you were selling your art. What did you fear most about painting and or what held you back?
Oh, well, I think a lot of things that held me back is that fear of I'm not good enough, that fear of, oh no, there's these artists and they do this and they're way better than I, and so it was that fear of not being able to, one, have the self confidence to say yes, I can compete with all these other artists, and two, that fear of me not allowing things to be good enough for myself. It's kind of a weird thing, but I was always scared that I'm not doing to where I should be or whatever. But then once I kind of had a breakthrough and drop through that, nothing became fearful.
Yeah, awesome. Uh, Bonus question number two. What is the most useless thing you have purchased or the biggest waste of money you have ever done in the world of art?
Oof. Boy, that's a good question. Um,
Or a
you
few
know,
things if you have a few things.
well, I would say that the thing that really I wasted my money on is I thought I'd get this high end designer style of easel, and it was almost an IKEA type, and I felt I overpaid for it, and the amount of use, it was just falling apart, and I was screwing it together, I was zip tying it together. I chose to go for a higher end thinking that was better. When it turned out I went to kind of a mid range, and my easel has lasted now, and it's my favorite easel. But yeah, I would say one time I bought a high end easel and it just did not meet my needs. I beat it up too much.
Yeah, absolutely. What style of easel do you use now?
So I kind of I prefer standing up when I paint. So I have the one that I can, it can go up to about 5 feet, all the way to mid range, with multiple. In fact, I've done paintings on TikTok where I take a canvas and stack it on top of another canvas, and I do two paintings at the same time. And so this for me, standing up it's so much easier than to sit hunched over, meddling with things. So
Absolutely. And I think each person is comfortable however you are. I recently was like, I'm going to burn some more calories. I'm going to stand up painting, and my painting suffered greatly. And now I'm back to my chair.
Yeah. And when I first started, especially when I was doing practices for the acrylic classes I used to teach, I would literally hunch over I just bought like a simple little kind of easel like this that sat on a desktop and just could adjust a little bit. I would hunch over and I was like, this hurts my back. This isn't for me. And then once I got teaching classes and I was up on essentially a stage, standing up in front of people, it's hard for me to go back to the sitting form of painting.
Yeah. Actually, I make people come over to my house and sit and paint with me. And one of the things I do right away when they start painting is I start watching how their body is sitting and if they're reaching, or you know what I mean? Because it's like you could actually injure yourself painting, as bizarre as that seems, So it's like, yeah, you got to find where you're comfortable. It's a big
Correct.
thing.
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know that I have any other questions for you. Do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share?
For me, one thing I love to do is on TikTok, I find fellow wet on wet artists, and I love to kind of paint together, and learn from them as they learn from me. But I would say if you're just starting out, just have patience, set aside, a couple hours throughout your week, paint, sometimes paint when you don't feel like painting, to get in that habit. And the more and more you paint and everything, you'll look back on your early stuff and be like, oh my gosh, whoa, why did I keep doing this? But because of the early stuff, I'm able to create paintings like you see behind me and much more. So just, if you get into it, don't stop, keep going, keep the momentum going.
Absolutely. Actually, I find it hard to stop myself from painting.
Me
Do
too.
you have that issue where you're like, I just want to paint some more?
Yeah, or there are times where I'm working on like a bigger piece and I get impatient because I need it to cure a little bit, and I get impatient, and so then I'm off there doing a small little piece while I'm waiting on this big piece, or I realize, hey, it's 8 o'clock, I can do a painting, blah blah blah, and the next thing I know, it's 2:30 in the morning, and I'm like, what am I doing? I gotta go to bed.
That's awesome. Where can people find you if they want to look at what you're doing?
Yeah, so Oils with Mick. You'll find me on TikTok. You'll find me on YouTube, and you'll find me on Instagram, all under the same thing, Oils with Mick.
Awesome.
Facebook, I believe it's Art by MKH. But yeah, mainly I use those 3 other accounts.
Okay, awesome. I think that's all. Thank you very much for coming on. I absolutely cannot do this without the artists coming on, and so I really do appreciate you taking your time and sitting down and letting me pick your brain.
Well, yeah, no problem, and thank you for having me. It's kind of an honor to be interviewed by Gabi, so I thank you.
Thank you. I think that's it for the interview today, guys. If you guys have any questions or comments, put it in the comment section of the video. We'll do our best to address them. Again, I'm Gabi, and this is Mick. Make sure that you guys find him on TikTok, find him on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Hit him up, follow him. He does some really nice stuff, so definitely get after him and give him some love. He deserves it.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Until next time, guys, I really do hope that you fall in love with oil painting or art or whatever just as much as we have. Bye, guys.
Bye.